You for co-hosting.
Howie, glad to do it.
Are you responsible for making me co-host?
I believe I already have, but okay.
Okay, great, great. That's all. See you
Yeah.
in a little while.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is Howie G. I'm going to be eavesdropping the whole time, so
Okay.
you're covered. Of
Thank you, Howie G, as well.
course.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. We'll wait for a few more moments and and say hello to one another. More the merrier on the cameras. Thank you. Hi, Rebecca. I can see you.
Hi, Howie. It's good to
Good.
see you.
Very good to see you. Just give it 30 seconds more. Okay. As always, very happy to see your faces. Humanity in this room. Really appreciate you being here. Never take it for granted. Our time, how we fill our mind moments is precious. The seeds that we plant, and the fact that you want to create your life right here, because this is the womb out of which your future moments are born. So the fact that you're here, I appreciate it very much. And hopefully we will support each other to be able to sit in the middle of it all and let our hearts relax a little bit, open, and fulfill what I think is this may be too grand, but our destiny to be Dharma warriors, be there for people, be there for ourselves, be there for each other. And I have a feeling that this kind of gathering, this kind of stilling, this kind of steadying, this kind of opening is the medicine that's needed. So, yeah. So please feel free to say good evening to each other. Feel free to say your name, where you're calling in from, and just bathe in each other's voices.
Hi, I'm Brooke, and I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Hi, Brooke. Welcome.
Thank you.
Glad you're with us.
Good evening. I'm Jane, and I'm in Alameda, California.
Hey, Jane. Always glad to see you.
Nice to be here.
Hi, it's Leith from Edmonton, Alberta.
Hi, Leith. So good to see you.
Hi,
Mary.
Frank from Cherry Hill.
Oh, Cherry Hill.
Frank.
Mary from Santa Barbara.
Hey, Mary. Hey, Frank. Hey, Rhonda. Was that
Margot
just Frank?
from
Oh, it's just Frank.
Margot from Berkeley. Hello.
Margot. Oh, by the way, you asked last week about the upcoming retreat, Margot, and it's exactly the same as the last time you did it. Same form, modules. So, please.
I'm from Maryland.
Hey, Laura.
Hey.
Howie G from Bernal Heights, San Francisco.
Hey, Howie G.
Seema from not Bernal Heights, Seema from Nob Hill, San Francisco.
Hi, Seema. Welcome.
Rebecca from Nob Hill in San Francisco, too.
Great. Covering the city.
From Berkeley.
Keith, thank you. Keith is co-host tonight. Thank you, Keith. The backup from Howie G. So you've got a dream team. Anyone else before we shift gears?
Hello, Patricia here from Edmonton.
Hello, Patricia. Always glad to see you.
Good to see
Smiling
you all.
face.
Thank you. The same. Thank you.
Katie from San Francisco.
Hey, Katie. Glad to see you.
Thank you.
Okay. Ah, definitely time to exhale. A lot to discharge, a lot to metabolize every day if we're human. And maybe especially right now, I don't know, maybe nothing new under the sun, but nevertheless, I'm really happy to drop in, to keep quiet, to allow myself with you, to be secluded in the practice, secluded in the body and mind, and know that I'm being held up and supported by you, and I'm supporting and holding you up, and that makes me happy. So let's find your position, just orient to the space that you're in. It's either the Zoom space or the space of your room, your own private or personal temple. And maybe even look around your room for a moment and with eyes that are not just zooming through or darting by or getting here, but really taking in the sights and the feeling. And knowing that none of this could be perceived or sensed without this holy body, you could say, this, what the Buddha called this fathom-long body with its senses and perceptions. That's its own miracle and completely unexplainable. Just the fact that we are here, embodied, conscious, and there's absolutely no shadow of, in this living reality, there's no shadow of past or future or even the ideas of present. There's just what there is here. Just this experience of life right where it's connecting with us. By inference, that we know that we've been through a lot to get here. By reflection, but in our immediate felt experience, we're just completely immersed in what we call reality, but even that is too limited a word to encompass what we can experience here. And then, of course, it's very grand on one level, but it's very simple. We're sitting. And we feel the shape of our body, feel the pulse, the aliveness. We hear the sounds and the sound of silence. All made possible by the simple fact, the ultimate fact that we are aware here. So you simply rest in that, being aware, and receive this experience. There's absolutely no reason to force anything here. Just awareness is both naturally active and curious and entirely receptive. Encompassing the full experience. Including maybe even the resistance to stop and slow down if it's happening. Whatever you find here, just let it fill your awareness. Let your awareness fill whatever it is that's being known. And keep a close tether to the feeling of your body, because it's here, will help support you staying here. Then you can benefit from the calming effects of riding the waves of your body, breath, as your body breathes naturally in whatever way it does. Notice how it becomes enlivened and energized when it breathes in, and how it becomes calm or empty as it breathes out. How our body actualizes the freedom of letting go with each out-breath. And if the body lets go, it then naturally takes another breath. Just this breath, just this moment. And if you feel integrated with feeling the texture of the breath, just stay there as long as it lasts. If the breath feels in some way stressful to be with, just feel the whole body sitting, touching. Whatever supports the continuity of real-time awareness. Reconnecting again and again. Maybe feeling that seclusion in the body, in the silence. Just enjoying the safety of your own internal quiet. Just being aware. And welcoming whatever comes. Sounds, a whole world of sensations that light up, change, the moods that move through our consciousness like changing weather patterns, and the thoughts and images that blow through like clouds. We welcome them all. One moment at a time. This is your time. soft attention, but alert. Gentle yet clear and precise. Feeling the texture of your body and breath, moods, just as they are. If you discover that you've been lost in thought, I should say, when you discover, because you will, that you've been lost in thought, this is a moment of mindfulness, re-arising. And you become aware, again and again, just find your body. Just put your mind in your body and your body in your mind. And just enjoy the still life. A life of a gentle stillness that happens quite naturally when our mind and body come together. Just this moment, just this body, just this breath, whatever is being felt through the body. Just a reminder that since our destination is here, every moment is a new beginning. Can always begin again. If you've fallen into dullness, refresh yourself. If you're straining to make something happen, just notice that, relax. If you're resisting, notice that, and notice how it self-corrects. Every moment is fresh. It's just the way it is. No higher mountain to climb than this. Being aware now. Embodied. It's always nice to sit with you. See a few yawns in the room. Sometimes the first insight is that we are ready for bed. But without assuming what's happening with you, I thought we would just check in, see how you're getting along. Any questions, comments, descriptions, topics? Questions about your practice, anything you noticed tonight, teachings, and know that your comment, question, description will be likely useful for someone else. So as always, we make it part of our offering to feel free. Stephen, thanks for breaking the ice.
Thank you, Howie. My question is about, and I think a lot of people feel this way sometimes in their lives, but I'm really sensitive to rejection, and for this year, I dedicated a good part of my a good part of my year to woodworking, and I built a table and lots of wooden toys and cutting boards and boxes and a box. And then at the end of all that, I asked my instructor, well, where can I go from here? And he said that you're unsafe. And it kind of blew my whole thinking of what I wanted to do next year, which was pursue woodworking a lot more. And he just told me that like the last minute of the class after 20 weeks. And I wrote a letter and I'm waiting, and it's got to go through the principal and the school district, and it gets really complicated, and I feel like I want to say, it wasn't fair what he did, and I feel angry about it. But I wonder about the anger, and I wonder about my words, because I kind of feel defensive by saying those things. I'm just wondering what you think from the highest point possible.
Anyway, I'm so sorry that you felt rejected, or that notion of not safe. That has many different levels. But I imagine that teacher meant you're not safe with the woodworking equipment, or
yeah, with
okay. Because we often refer to safe as psychologically safe.
No, with the
Okay.
machine.
With the machines. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry that whatever he said was harmful, felt harmful or harming. And anger, is our, and sometimes it's an appropriate defense for being hurt or afraid or unable to feel the more tender, more diminished. Often we feel diminished, and one of the ways we hold ourselves together is to get angry. And so ideally you want to be able to feel the tender underside of whatever that angry response is. And it's not wrong to feel angry. If you're angry, you're angry, but it's ideally we want to feel that and not express and not necessarily express the anger, express the more the tender side of it. Because when we express the anger, it tends to come back at us, and it's like flexing a muscle. It gets stronger and it creates a cycle. So the middle way is not suppressing it by any means. You feel it or acting it out, but actually feeling it and then staying long enough to where it allows you to feel some compassion for your own suffering, and so that you don't end up rejecting yourself. And every time we go after the so-called perpetrator in an angry way, we actually leave ourselves, we lose our sense of presence. And so then it's very hard for us to recover the sense of compassion for ourselves and even compassion for the total unskillfulness of a teacher waiting till the last minute to tell you you're not being safe with the equipment. That seems very unskillful.
Well, is there a way to express it in a way that that
Yes.
you express?
Yes.
Can you express yourself, or just have to deal with it yourself?
No. You can express yourself, but ideally, whenever you talk to anybody about anything, the only thing you really say about the other person is what they said or didn't say, did or didn't do. It's just something that they would agree that they did. And then the rest is all what happened to you. And it's very informative when somebody knows that you felt harmed by that or you felt hurt by it. It's informative to for someone to know that was really hard for you to hear, and in the way and in the time. Wise speech is one of the five main tenets of wise speech is timeliness. Speech that's true, that's useful, that's for someone's benefit, and harmonious and timely. And in this case, it didn't sound like it was timely.
It was the opposite of being timely.
Yeah. So that's something that you can say when you experienced that, it was really hard for you to be with.
Well, I feel like I can say that without being angry. I can
Yeah.
Just like talking to you.
But ideally, whenever you talk to anybody, it's the only thing you say about them. They didn't cause you to feel any of that. They did what they did, and that's what happened for you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry again about the stress. Okay, now let's see if I can find. Okay. Anybody else? Comments, questions, topics? How are you metabolizing the world right now? Nina.
Hi, Howie. Thank you as always.
Pleasure.
I have been noticing this phenomenon. Maybe you're just gonna tell me to be aware of it, and that's the answer. But I've been noticing that sometimes when I have a sort of more difficult thought or difficult emotion, sensation, and I bring mindfulness to it, that it sort of feels like a clinging arises. And I'm really not trying to do that, though are we ever? But
Say more about this clinging, if you don't mind.
like
How do you experience clinging?
like so say some sort of thought that causes some kind of unpleasantness for me arises, and so I become mindful of it. I'm like, here that is. And then it feels sort of sticky when I bring
Okay.
that mindfulness to it. There's a sense of stickiness. I'm like,
Yeah.
when
So
I bring that
that's
mindfulness to it,
that's
that
stickiness.
yeah. And
Well, mindfulness isn't sticky.
I know.
The feeling connected to it is sticky.
Yes, no, the mindfulness certainly isn't. But I'm having sort of an interesting time separating them because it happens so immediately when I bring mindfulness to the thought. it feels like when I brought the mindfulness, the thoughts stuck to me a little bit.
Well, so the next thing to notice is stickiness, is
Yeah.
stuckness, and just let that be felt, and then see how that behaves. And yeah, I don't think you have to do too much surgery, teasing anything apart, other than be curious and make sure that you're super kind.
Yeah.
That's just kind of let that stickiness percolate a little bit. Because everything needs, especially something painful or difficult, it needs compassion. But we can't make compassion. All we can do is be present with it.
Yeah.
And then that's the natural response of the heart to being present with something that's stressful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, it sounds formulaic, but
No. Yeah, I sort of wonder if in bringing a more difficult experience into awareness, I'm having a sort of subtle agenda that's creating that sense of stickiness, because it's possible that I'm coming in with this underbelly of like, let's get rid of this.
yeah,
Like,
I'll pay attention to you if you'll loosen up a little bit, but
yeah.
and no, yeah, it knows.
Yeah.
But that's part of the discovery, is seeing all those little agendas and things, they emerge, they come into awareness. That's why awareness is everything self-liberates. And it's amazing how that happens. You don't really have to help the Dharma along, you just have to show up. Anyway, thanks for the question.
Thanks, Howie.
Mary, please feel free.
Hi, Howie. Glad to be here tonight.
Glad you're here as always.
I just want to say, I feel like I don't know if you remember, there used to be like a little game or something that people played that was like backwards or upside down day or something. That's kind of how things feel right now. Like they're not right. Like everything is like the reverse of what it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then every day is kind of a little bit of bad news. So it's a challenging time. I find very much so.
Oh, I agree. It's what I was going to lead with that tonight. There's just all manner of things that are hard to bear. There's just so much, just in our individual orbits, there's always someone who's ill or having loss or this or that. And then in the wider world, so much war and killing, and we haven't gotten that it's never, there's no winners whenever there's a war. And yet the cycle, the samsara, is just the playing out again and again of greed, hatred, and delusion, So it's painful, it's dukkha. And everybody has it. And that's why Sangha is so useful, because we come together and it softens it to know it's not just you, it's me, it's all of us. We're all living in this inverted
alternate universe
where the inmates are running the prison.
Right, exactly. Did you ever see the old movie King of Hearts?
Yes, of course.
That's what it reminds me of. But I have a part-time job and I was at work today. I'm very busy with a lot of stuff and people and everything. I came home and I briefly looked at the news before. And I was like, I felt like this person was picking, like, it was almost like a contest. Who is the absolute worst person I could pick? Who is the exact reverse of what this?
We're not going there.
Okay. but that's what I felt. And it's a
Well,
little
I
bit,
no, I appreciate it, and you have a
crazy
lot of
making.
company here.
Right.
You have a lot of company.
Anyway, it just was very like, oh my God, this is
Yes.
so crazy making.
Yes.
So
So
I think,
easy for me to say, but it really is all practice.
yeah.
It really is all about letting your own dukkha around that be the cause of compassion, as I was saying to Nina, and then and then to whatever way we can extend that to others.
Well, I think what I'm thinking about a little bit is, I think in meditating, for me anyway, it's like kind of right now I'm still a little, shaken by things, but it's kind of like getting into your own wisdom, and your
Exactly.
own assurance in a sense, or
Exactly.
wholeness. And it's like, the world seems pretty crazy right now. So I feel like I really need that to be tapping into, what, that inner wisdom, and that inner
Well said.
groundedness.
That's right.
Yeah. But I feel like I'm having to work really hard lately. Maybe that's a good thing.
Well, just I have the pleasure of talking to a lot of people about their present condition and physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, all of it, and for many people right now, it's very hard to stop and to feel and to just, and that's why it's so important to, at that part of recovering or being able to find that calm center, we need each other. We need to, because the tendency will be to keep moving. And as I've said many times before, we keep moving out of love for ourselves because we want relief, but it actually leaves our bodies and minds tense and living mostly in our view of things, our thoughts about things, and not really touching into the sense of presence, and it's presence that allows compassion for ourselves and each other to flow. It's not the effort to be compassionate, it's just being present. And yet it's the last place that we tend to look at a time that's where there's so much happening and so fast and so, in many ways, so overwhelming. Because I always say, or what I notice for myself is in real time, when I do manage to stop, and when I do have the support to stop and tune into just the immediate sense experience, I have a hard time finding overwhelm. I have a hard time finding that which is so difficult. It's just more easeful. You don't mind if I move on, Mary, or no?
No. Thank you.
Thank you for giving voice. I often revisit this this story that I know I've told many, many times at Mission Dharma about the mayor, the ex-mayor of Salt Lake City, who went to see the Dalai Lama in Dharamsala, India, and he was sent by the city of Salt Lake to invite the Dalai Lama to come to Salt Lake City to, I guess, give a talk or something. And when he went to see the Dalai Lama, he was walking through the streets of Dharamsala and he ran into a couple who he met on the street. And it turned out that couple was from Salt Lake. And so he decided to invite the couple along to go meet the Dalai Lama. And they went in to see the Dalai Lama, and there's a big, wonderful story about everybody sitting around and laughing and the kind of buoyancy in the room. And then all of a sudden, the Dalai Lama looked over at this couple and he looked at them and he said, "You're sad." And they started to weep. They started to cry. And they informed the Dalai Lama that their son had just had recently committed suicide. One of the countless ways that we suffer, that people can suffer. It's just the endless array. I can't think of anything more heartbreaking. But the Dalai Lama didn't just talk to them and do any special prayers or anything. He just moved toward them and he put their heads in his hands, touched them. And all he said was, "Sad, sad." He just joined them in their sadness. Utterly simple. And how he does that, how he did that is because he just sits in the middle of it all. He just has presence. It's just one. And somebody asked him one time, how does he accommodate, Mary, this is for you in a way, how do you accommodate the enormity of suffering? The Tibetan people have suffered so much at the hands of the Chinese. So much suffering, massive diaspora, just a stripping of their culture. And the Dalai Lama, when asked, how do you handle all that suffering? He said, one person at a time. Just like and it's very parallel, very similar to Mother Teresa, who worked her mission was right in the most suffering area of Calcutta. I know Calcutta has a different name now and I can't remember what it is, but she became quite famous because of her service to the most impoverished and most pained people in Calcutta. And the way that she would speak about it is just, I just meet one person at a time. She wasn't busy being Mother Teresa. The Dalai Lama is not busy being the Dalai Lama. He's just meeting that one person at a time. And for me, this reminds me of something that I often say at the end of retreats, and any of you have sat with me, I'll say, at the end of the retreat, tell me if this is your experience, the end of the retreat, and you start anticipating going home. And when you start anticipating going home, there's a kind of upsurge of anxiety and worry. And there is a listing of all the things that you will have to deal with that are hard to bear. And the longer the list gets, the more anxious you get. And knowing that's what I'm going home to. All these things that are going on. And I realized that my mind was doing that, and it was all mind made. All mind made. Nothing actually happened, except I had many mind moments. And an attempt, a mistaken attempt to try to solve every problem, jump through all the things on my to-do list all at once, and then overwhelm. So when we try to take in the enormity of the suffering of the world and the freak show that's happening in Washington, we try to take it all in, it's overwhelming. But when you realize how we actually accommodate anything, how we actually live our lives is just one moment at a time. It's just knowing, oh, this is what overwhelm feels like. This is what sticky feels like. This is what, and then the more that I can actually just find that simple presence that you spoke about, that I'm just naming what you said, Mary, as presence, so that sense of being embodied and aware. When I can find that, I realize that future moment, unborn, past moment, gone, I can only ever accommodate one moment at a time. And if I know that my mind is speculating, I have this beautiful quote about speculative thoughts from the Buddha. I'll read it to you when I'm done. But if I know that I'm speculating, it's just the mind speculating. That's just a moment. If I know that there's a big to-do list, it's just a moment of a to-do list. So I reframed the arousing of compassion. I reframed the dealing with the suffering of the world as something that is very accessible right now, just this moment. And at least the way it works on retreats, one of the things that I realize is that picture in my mind that I'm going home, the picture in my mind of the world is just a picture in my mind. And in fact, I don't actually go home, and there is no world in the way that I imagine it. The world is actually the world of my senses right now. That's the world. And the rest is speculative or a picture, a story of the world. So here's the quote on speculative views. It's a little bit out of context because this was about views and opinions and convictions. And the questioner asked, does the master, somebody meant, I think his name was Vacha, went to speak to the Buddha, or no, maybe Vacha is the word for speculative view. Somebody went to the Buddha and says, then does Master Gautama, the Buddha, hold any speculative view? Vacha, speculative view is something that the Tathagata has put away. The Tathagata is the one who knows suchness, the awakened one. The Buddha is called Tathagata. Tathagata has put away speculative views, convictions, positions. See, we position ourselves in time. That's all mind made. For the Tathagata, Vacha has seen this, such is form, such is its origin, such is its passing away, such is feeling, such is its origin, such its passing away, such is perception, such its origin, such its passing away. Such are volitional formations, such their origin, such their passing away, such is consciousness. What he's describing here are the 5 skandhas, the 5 aggregates that make up our experience. What our whole elaborate story of our life is really made up of: contact, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness that's flashing on and off every moment. So for the Buddha, he sees, for the Tathagata, such as form, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness arising and passing away. Therefore, I say, with the destruction, the fading away, the cessation, the giving up, and relinquishing of all conceiving, all rumination, all I-making, mind-making, and the underlying tendency to conceit, personalizing everything. These are the things that stress us out. The Tathagata is liberated through non-clinging. So this may be a little too sutra-ish, but it's pointing to the liberation of the heart, the opening of the heart that happens when we come into just the simple reality of contact and feeling whatever's being felt, and perception and mental formation, knowing what we're thinking, and just the fact that we're conscious. If we come into that, then compassion flows, because when it meets pain, the pain of the world, our heart opens. But we have to be able to stop. That's why I often read the poem from Pablo Neruda called Keeping Quiet. And he says, now we will count to 12, and we will all keep still. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. It would be an exotic moment. Without rush, without engines, we would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales. The man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. Those who prepare green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, victory with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade doing nothing. What I want would not be confused with total inactivity. Life is what it's about. I want no truck with death. If we're not so single-minded about keeping our lives moving, and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Perhaps the earth can teach us, as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. Now I will count to 12, and you keep quiet, and I will go. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to say. Yeah, I think that we try to work too hard to be compassionate. It doesn't come through effort, it just comes through presence, through stopping. through looking around and looking at our fellow beings and seeing how we can help. And the word compassion, I was thinking about this today. For many people, compassion, because it's associated with the heart's response to dukkha, to suffering, somehow it gets a coloring that it's somehow heavy. But it's actually the heart softening, the feeling of caring, a feeling of connecting with another. That's what lightens our hearts. It's actually there's joy in it. And we don't want to lose that sense of joy. We need it. You see that joy and sorrow are really two sides of the same coin. In my own mind, sometimes I feel like a one-note Johnny. I just keep pointing to here. But I felt validated tonight when I read that passage from the Buddha, where he just brought it down to the simple rising and passing of the five aggregates. If we could really see life in its essence, it's so ephemeral, it's so empty, so much in change, that quite naturally something in us lets go. Something in us says, don't cling to anything of this world. And the paradoxical thing, and when you don't cling to anything in the world, the heart just relaxes and then feels compassion. You don't have to make yourself feel compassionate. You just have to show up. But our habit is so much to run from present time, run from our bodies, that's why we need each other to help call us here. So may we all grow in wisdom, the wisdom of emptiness, and then the expression of that, of compassion. All grow in joy and compassion. And start with ourselves. Remember, the Buddha said you could scan the world in all directions and not find anyone more deserving of care than ourselves. But we tend to leave ourselves out. So let's end with a little heart rub. Won't hurt you. And then let our hearts, our arms open, and imagine or sense or feel our heart extending to all beings everywhere, especially in the war zones, especially for those who are just in the most desperate circumstances, but then beings who are suffering even the unwanted thoughts, the sticky thoughts, all range. There's no hierarchy of suffering, really. Let our hearts open to all beings everywhere without exception, and wish from the bottom of our hearts that all beings can have more happiness and peace and safety, ease of being, and that war is eradicated from this earth. That all beings naturally live with the precepts of non-harming. With our speech, our bodies, our thoughts, and the deep wish that all beings be liberated. Thanks for hanging in there with me tonight. I'm in a dukkha space. Dukkha night. So, Keith or Howie or who's got some announcements for us? Keith, are you on?
I'm on. I've got a few announcements for us. So,
Thank you so much. Hang in there, everyone.
Just as a reminder about Dana, these teachings have been offered freely for 2,600 years. And the reason that we're hearing them today is that people in the past have given freely to allow them to continue. And just so our generosity can allow them to continue going forward for others and for ourselves. And so it supports your generosity, supports Howie, supports sort of the future people who will hear these as well. So I put the information in the chat, various ways you can do that there. And then on the note of future events, there are, I think you have two different, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say the retreat this weekend in Vancouver, there's still a few spots left. They set a limit that, yeah, so I think there's spots at Vancouver for any of you people in Vancouver who may want to come to the retreat and aren't registered. But go ahead, Keith. Sorry to interrupt.
Great. So there's the Vancouver retreat this weekend, and then December 14th through 18th, there's an online retreat. Again, information in the chat as well as in the email.
There's another little piece that retreat is actually full, the December 14th.
Okay.
But there is another one in January, mid-January, and if you go to the same link for that retreat on our website or on our note, it's probably the January retreat. It will also probably be listed, and that's yeah. I don't want to give any more information right now, but thank you.
And anything else, Howie, that I should be would you suggest to add here?
Yeah, I think we're going to have a half-day retreat in person. Oh, it's actually, we're planning to do it hybrid. So welcome the people from out of town as well as the in-town folks in either the end of, Mary, do you remember? The end of January or?
Yeah, I think it's towards the end of January.
And then we
I don't
also,
want to say January 26th, but I don't
we're
know.
also doing a Tuesday evening in person in San Francisco, but we'll also make that hybrid so people from afar can join us in the mission. Okay? Well, to be communicated in time. Anyway, thanks for staying with it. Feel free to unmute and say goodnight to each other, and may your stress decrease. May it disappear. May it never re-arise.
Good night, everyone.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
That's great.
Thank you, Howie.
Night, everyone.
Yeah.
Good
Night, everyone. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Howie.
Night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Keith.
Okay.
Okay, good night, everybody.